thousands of miles from land. We're not in any flight paths. That's like a 1,500 square mile search area.
A needle in a blue haystack.
Is anybody there?
My ribs are broken. My legs shattered. I'm dead weight.
I've been sailed to Hawaii.
It's like a 2,000-mile shot at a moving target. If you miss Hawaii...
We miss Hawaii, we die.
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Christy, Matt, Alonzo, opening this weekend. In the weekend, everybody thought, oh, let's get out of the way of Solo. Is Adrift, one of several based on a true story movies this weekend. I didn't see it, but they did.
Yes, so Adrift is in theaters, and if you decide to go see it, you could go to adamtickets.com and enter the code WTF5, and you'll get $5 off your first purchase because we've partnered with them. But Adrift is a movie starring Shailene Woodley and Sam Claflin. Shailene Woodley plays a young girl named Tami, who has kind of just been sailing around the world, picking up odd jobs. She ends up in Tahiti, working on boats and kind of working in the harbor. She meets Richard, they fall in love, they decide that they're gonna stay together. He gets an offer to sail to San Diego from Tahiti, move somebody's boat. They decide to do that, and then as you can imagine, something happens and they end up adrift, and it's pretty terrifying, and becomes a story of survival.
Right, so directed by Baltasar Kormákur, an Icelandic filmmaker, and shot way better than you might expect a movie like this might be. So the DP was Robert Richardson, who shoots a lot of Scorsese films and Tarantino films.
And he also shot Kormákur's Everest, right?
Oh, quite possibly.
I think he did.
We'll look that up for you while we're sitting here. Alonzo, look that up
I'll
for
do
us,
that.
please. But yeah, it's really tense and it's really immersive and intimate, and there's a back and forth narrative structure that gives you like little pieces of, okay, here's where they are now, and here's how they got there. And at first it's a little bit jarring, and then you realize like the pieces are laid so deliberately so that tiny little items like a piece of clothing or a guitar or whatever make so much more sense as the film goes along. And it's so tense. We were talking about this afterward. We did a Wind the Flick afterward with the lovely Katie Walsh, and we're talking about how this must have been so hard to shoot this film, like way harder than any of the Divergent movies Shailene Woodley did, because a lot of it is like, it's just her a lot of times, like underwater.
Sorry, he did not shoot Everest.
Thank you very much for quality control.
How does it compare to, say, a movie I loved, All Is Lost?
It's very similar to All Is Lost, but there's actual dialogue.
There's actual dialogue.
Because there are two people on the boat.
And I think this is better. And I think part of it, because it bounces back and forth. And look, you talk about, Christy, how it starts to give you clues in their past and how they're relevant now, but it doesn't overdo it. They could have been a lesser director, and a poorer script could have been really ham-fisted about that. And this one, it still works. And the backstory about them meeting and them getting to know each other and falling in love serves to make the stakes higher in a way that really worked. So as much as you're worried about someone trying to survive this, right? The difference with All Is Lost is that, oh, it's just a guy in a boat trying to survive. Okay, sure.
And that's an experiment fine. In some ways too. This is not so much of an experiment, I don't feel like.
And not to say that it doesn't work in All Is Lost, but this one, it helps with the things that are going on between Richard and Tami, that it makes their interaction have that much more impact. And I found myself, I think we both kind of went into this thinking, oh God, it just
it's Wednesday night.
It seemed like it was gonna be just kind of fluff, and no, I get why Shailene Woodley pushed to produce this and get this made.
Studios, if you're proud of your movie, don't show it on Wednesday night and lift the embargo on Thursday morning.
At 7:30.
It sends the wrong message.
Right, and it was also at 7:30. It's a half an hour later than most movies we see.
But I was tense and worried and emotionally invested in these characters, and there was one particular scene where I know I did, and who was sitting next to you.
Justin Chang was on the other side of us.
Like a few of us, something happens and we all go, and this movie worked. And by the end of it, I was emotionally moved.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with this movie.
Yeah.
I was surprised by how much I liked this.
Yeah, it is tense and it is surprising, and also like the fact that she rescues him, right? She is not a damsel in distress. At the same time, she's not a superhero. So one thing I love about The Shallows, if we may also talk about movies where you're stranded on the ocean, the thing with The Shallows that makes sense is that Blake Lively's character, had been a medical student, so she has the know-how to figure things out that she needs to in the moment. Shailene Woodley has been around, they've established from the flashback, she's been around enough boats and enough of that setting, and around him on his boat. He built his own boat. This is their life at sea. That when she does figure things out, it makes sense. Like, she knows just enough to realize, okay, I know how to do this, and I'm terrible at math, but I'm still going to figure out, because it's 1983, we should mention, right? So technologically, she doesn't have, at her fingertips, oh, here's where we are, here's what latitude we're on.
Right, and if you see, and so it's a lot of, very kind of old school navigation. It's not like they've got a functioning GPS, right? Like, she's using a sextant to try and figure out where she is, and she's not sure of her math skills, and she's using that to navigate, and they've got to make decisions about which way they're gonna go based on the headwinds and the currents for the sail that they kind of rigged because they've lost their masts, and none of which is a huge spoiler, because that all, the very beginning of the movie, you see this 44-foot yacht is in tatters, and it's lost both of its masts, and it's dragging the sail, and you see her, and basically, not only rescue him out of the water, he's non-functional. He's so injured he can't do anything, so she's got to do it all herself. And half the time he's passed out, and she's just figuring it out. Like, she knows just enough. She's been around enough, okay, I can figure this out. Or he'll tell me what to do, and I can make it work.
Right. It's not implausible, and it's inspiring, and it's just pure survival instinct kicks in.
Yeah, and I was impressed with this.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Yeah.
So, so don't really read a lot, just trust us. It's a good movie, and enjoy it. Yeah, and it's very intimate. They have a nice chemistry, Shailene and Sam.
Yeah, and when we finally get to the scene where, because it does go back and forth, so sure enough, it does pay off that we get to see the catastrophic part of the storm, and that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you see them struggling to bring the sails in, and you see them struggling to kind of get, literally batten down the hatches, and you kind of through the haze, through the one shot that kind of actually, I was thinking about even this morning, through all the rain and all of just kind of the haze, you see that giant wave coming that they don't even see yet. And
you're like, oh my God.
No.
It's coming, and you're like, oh my
coming.
God, yes. So it's really intense, but intimate. Like, it's not melodramatic, it's not insane, it's not like a Noah Emmerich film about, is it who does it? No, Roland Emmerich.
Roland Emmerich.
Who does the big disaster movies? It's not nutty like that. It's intimate and all intangible, and it makes sense. So yeah, it's good. I'm saying, I'm actually gonna raise my number.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 8.
8?
What are you guys? Are you still at 7.5?
Sure. You know what? I'll go up to 8 too.
Let's go say 8 because then math is easy.
I'll call your 8.
Like Shailene Woodley, I'm not good at math on boats. So our number is
Or
an
anywhere
8.
else.
Or on dry land. So our number is an 8, is at 68% on the tomato meter. I don't know why that is, because it's way better than that.
It's not my fault.
Right. Enjoy. Bye.